In the early hours of Valentine's Day 2000, 9-year-old Asha Degree was seen walking alone during a thunderstorm along Highway 18 north of Shelby, North Carolina. When approached in an attempt to help, the little girl ran off into the nearby woods. She's never been seen since. Asha was born on August 5, 1990. She lived with her parents, Harold and Akila Degree, along with her older brother, O'Brien, with whom she shared a bedroom. The family was close, with the grandmother living across the street and other extended family members close by. Her parents were somewhat overprotective by limiting the children's exposure to people outside of the family and the small social circle which they shared. Due to both parents having full-time jobs, Asha and her brother were latchkey kids. The children were expected to come home from school and concentrate on their homework and to have it all but completed by the time the parents arrived home in the evening. There was not a computer in the home, nor did either child have a cell phone or a private phone line. The parents made sure to shelter their children from outside influences, and their lives centered around the extended family they had, school, and church, which they attended regularly. Asha was described as a sensitive and smart fourth grader who attended Folston Elementary School. People said that she was a shy child who was timid of strangers and reportedly afraid of the dark and thunderstorms. By all accounts, Asha was a cautious and happy child who was content to stay within the limits her parents set for her. Friday, February 11th was a school holiday, and since both parents had to work, Asha and her brother spent the day with their aunt. Asha, who played point guard on her basketball team, had a game. In this particular game, she fouled out, and her team ended up losing by 1 point. It's been said that Asha took the loss hard, crying and having to be consoled by her mother and teammates on the sidelines. By the time the family attended her brother's game later in the day, Asha seemed to be over the loss and was back to being her bubbly self. That evening, Asha went to a sleepover with her 15-year-old cousin and some other family members. After being picked up from the sleepover on Saturday, Asha, along with her family, went to the 11 a.m. church service, after which the family returned to her aunt's house to spend the afternoon there with family before heading back home. That evening there was a thunderstorm, which caused the power to go out into the entire area sometime in the early hours of the night. Around 9 p.m. the kids were put to bed, and because of the power outage, the children were put to bed without bathing. Just after midnight, the power returned to the area and Asha's mother went to bed. Around 2 a.m., Asha's father, Harold, checked the children, who were both asleep in their beds, before going to bed himself. Sometime not long after that, Asha's brother reported hearing her bed squeak. He did not look up to see what made the sound. Assuming it was just Asha turning over in bed, he went back to sleep. Around 6 a.m. the next morning, Asha's mother went to wake her children to get ready for school, and that's when it was discovered that while O'Brien was in his bed, Asha was not. Akila and O'Brien searched the bedroom and the immediate areas of the house, including the cars, before waking her father, calling her grandmothers, and then subsequently calling the police. On Monday, February 14, 2000, just past 6:30, the police arrived along with search dogs. However, the search dogs were unable to pick up a scent trail for Asha. After looking through the home, there were no signs of a struggle or forced entry, as all the doors and the windows were shut and locked. By 8 a.m., the entire neighborhood was looking for Asha, and her disappearance was being reported on the local news. By noon, a helicopter with infrared was used to scan the woods for her. After seeing news reports on the disappearance, a truck driver named Jeff Rope, who was traveling northbound on Highway 18, reported seeing Asha between 3:45 and 4:15 a.m. He said she was walking southbound wearing a long-sleeved white t-shirt and white pants. He turned around to help, and calling out to her, she never responded, but instead ran off into the nearby wooded area. The second truck driver, along with his son, also reported seeing her walking down the highway around the same time. They called out on the CB to other truck drivers in the area to avoid someone hitting a person walking down the highway, not realizing it was a child walking. It was assumed that Asha was walking to the town of Shelby. On February 15th, 2000, the Turner family, who lived off Highway 18, were instructed to check their property near where Asha had been seen running into the woods. When checking their shed, they found candy wrappers, a green marker, pencils, and a Mickey Mouse hair tie. The items found in the shed were confirmed to belong to Asha. Also found with the belongings was a photograph of a black girl around Asha's age. The girl was unknown to anyone close to Asha. The photo found in the shed was also released to the public, but to this day the girl has yet to be publicly identified. It is theorized Asha was spooked by the truck driver approaching her, and she had fled to the shed to hide, and that's how her belongings got there. The search dogs were unable to pick up a scent trail for Asha along the highway or at the shed where her belongings were found, and the Turners reported that their dogs did not bark at the time Asha would have been at the shed. Those items were the only trace of Asha found during the first search for her. On February 16, 2000, Asha's mother searched her bedroom again, and it was at that time she realized some of Asha's favorite clothing was missing, along with her backpack containing her house key. This indicated to investigators that Asha had left on her own. The truck driver who attempted to assist Asha was given a polygraph, to which he passed. The investigation led to the conclusion that Asha had walked to the Turner shed on her own. Tips flooded in and over 300 were investigated, resulting in over 9,000 man-hours in the immediate search for Asha. No tips led to her, and the case began to run cold. On February 20th, 2000, the search was officially called off, but a plea was made through the media to keep eyes open for the missing girl. Asha's friends and classmates were interviewed, and several reported her showing them money she had, but she wouldn't tell them where she got the money. Her parents also had no idea where Asha would have gotten any money from. February 22, 2000, a press conference took place announcing the involvement of the FBI. The family were all given polygraph tests, of which they all passed. The family had been completely cooperative in the investigation from the beginning and was never really considered suspect in the disappearance. On August 3, 2001, a construction worker who was working around 30 miles from Asha's home dug up a black backpack, which was double wrapped in 2 large black trash bags. The backpack had Asha's name and phone number written inside. After being reported, the area was blocked off, and nearby a pair of men's pants and animal bones were found. The backpack was buried deeply, leading investigators to determine that Asha didn't bury the backpack herself. The FBI took the backpack to their laboratory in Virginia for further forensic analysis. Results from that testing have not been shared publicly. On the 20th anniversary of Asha's disappearance, the FBI confirmed that the book bag contained a Dr. Seuss book and a t-shirt depicting the New Kids on the Block. Neither appear to have been her property before they were found in her bag, although the book was borrowed from the library at her elementary school. These items were called vital clues by investigators. To date, it's the last evidence found in the case. In 2016, the FBI and Cleveland County Sheriff's Office released information about a car that Asha may have gotten into on the night she disappeared. The vehicle is described as an early 1970s Lincoln or Ford Thunderbird, dark green with rust around the wheel wells. No further information on the car has been released, and it has never been revealed where the information came from or why it was not released for such a long time after the beginning of the investigation. In November of 2020, an inmate named Marcus Mellon, who was convicted of sex crimes against children in 2014, wrote a letter to the Shelby Star claiming that Degree was murdered and he knows where to find her. Marcus Mellon wrote, "Degree has been missing for over 20 years. About 4 months ago, I had found out her whereabouts and what had happened to her. She was killed and then took and buried. I do know how and what town she is in. I hope you get this letter and do come see me. It's on the up and up." In February 2021, Cleveland County Sheriffs reported that Marcus's information was another dead end. While it's unknown what happened to Asha, 3 main theories persist. There are people who believe that Asha's parents were more involved or that they know more than they have let on. There was no evidence or indication of this, and the family was never considered suspect in the disappearance. The family has been extremely cooperative in the investigation and search for Asha, and have continued to make efforts to keep interest in the case alive. Killa's account of what Asha had taken with her, investigators believe she had planned and prepared for this departure over the several days preceding her disappearance. It has been theorized that the picture of the little girl found with Asha's belongings was a pen pal of sorts, and the pair made a plan to run away together. This theory has support in that Asha's class had just read a book called The Whipping Boy, which is about two boys who plan to run away together, and perhaps this was the inspiration for the pair to make a pact to meet up and run away. Asha is not your typical runaway, however. According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, most children who run away are at least 12, and Asha was 9 at the time of her disappearance. There is also the lack of an issue she may have been running away from, such as a dysfunctional or abusive family, poor academic performance, or social problems. Still, investigators believe that this is the most likely explanation for her departure, but that for some reason she either got off track or was abducted. The most common theory, and the one I personally believe, is that she was lured away by a child predator. And while she did pack her own belongings and leave her home on her own, she was convinced to do so by someone who groomed her and convinced her to flee her home in the night to meet. The Degrees have made efforts to keep Asha's memory and the case alive in the public's mind. In 2008, they established a scholarship in her name, and they host an annual walk to raise awareness and money to fund the continuing search for their daughter. The walk starts at their home and ends at a missing persons billboard for Asha along Highway 18, near where she was last seen. It was originally held on February 14th, but it was changed as Harold and Akila felt it was not fair to participants to make Valentine's Day a somber occasion. Pictures of Asha, both real and age progressed by investigators, still decorate the Degree home. The family still has hope Asha will one day come back home. Anyone with any information is asked to call the Cleveland County Sheriffs at 704-484-4788, the FBI Field Office at 704-672-6100, or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's Cyber Tip Line at 1-800-843-5678.